Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. As always, my name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky. I'm the CEO of Disaster Avoidance Experts, the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show. And today, we'll talk about remote and hybrid worker well-being, the truth about these topics. Now, here's the thing. There are lots and lots of folks who have a traditional view on remote work. They feel that remote work leads to pretty bad mental well-being issues like social isolation. There's a lot of talk about remote workers, hybrid workers, when they're during a period of time when they're working remotely, experiencing social isolation, meaninglessness, sense of disconnection, purposelessness, a lack of boundaries for work-life boundaries in remote work. And business leaders and gurus therefore call for a return to office-centric working. Want to come back to the office 5 days a week to address all of these problems. For example, here's a guru, Malcolm Gladwell, the writer of Blink, many other popular books, and he says that people experienced a core psychological need for belonging and feeling necessary, that sense of purposelessness and that sense of connection. And he says, well, it's a hassle to come to the office, but it's much better for work-life balance, therefore everyone should come back to the office. That's his perspective. Now, what these leaders don't see and what they don't talk about, honestly, is the actual very serious negative impacts of office-centric work. So traditionalists like Malcolm Gladwell and many others miss that negative impact that working in the office 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, has for people's well-being. They make a comparison to an ideal state of leisure, as though if people weren't working remotely, then they would just be relaxing and hanging out with friends. Not true. They would be working in the office. So let's compare apples to apples and think about what are the demerits, the problems, the cons of office-centric work for people's well-being, so that we compare the cons of office-centric work to people's well-being in remote work to office-centric work fairly. Now, you start with a commute. That is the number one reason that people don't like to come to the office. When you ask people what's the number one reason, 79% say the commute. They really don't like the commute. Now think about it. In larger cities, you can be easily going over an hour each way. You're losing 2 hours a day. That's a lot of time to lose. On average, Americans lose over an hour of core commuting, and just driving time is 55 minutes, and then transition time, putting on clothing, going out the door, then actually going in, getting into the location, sitting down, figuring things out, starting up your computer, and then doing the same things backward. So you're losing on average over an hour a day, and in larger cities, you're losing over 2 hours a day. That's pretty frustrating. People really don't like the commute. And then you come to the office. Many people, especially people who tend to be more introverted, really don't like the open office environment. There's extensive research showing that the open office environment is good if you want to squish a lot of people together and minimize office space usage, but it's bad if you want people to be productive. People are distracted, there's a lot of problems, especially introverted people are less productive in open office environments. Then, what kind of food do you have available? You have unhealthy lunch and healthy snacks. You have to go out, go to the local Panera Bread or something like that to get your lunch, and you're not going to get something very healthy. Same thing for snacks. So throughout the day. And then you have more frustration on the commute back home. People don't like the commute. People don't like many of these negative aspects of the office. So for a true comparison, we need to look at employee surveys, the people who actually worked in the office and people who actually worked remotely, and see what they prefer. So surveys of employees who experience both in-office and remote hybrid work. For example, a Cisco survey of 28,000 full-time employees about remote and hybrid work. It found that 78% report that substantial time working remotely, over half their time, improved their overall well-being. 78%. And 79% reported the same for work-life balance. Now that's the golden standard. You're asking the actual, coming from the horse's mouth, the people who are actually doing the work. And 74% report that it improved family relationships, and 51% report that remote work strengthened friendships. So here you're getting at the social isolation, right? Of course you're going to be more isolated from your work colleagues, but you will be less isolated, you will be more connected to your family and friends during the period of time when you're working remotely. So The claims of social isolation are very much overblown because, again, you are less connected to your workers, but you're more connected to people in your personal life, your family and friends. 82% report increased happiness overall. So clearly remote and hybrid work is very much worth it for these people. 55% report decreased stress levels. So great for hybrid and remote work. Now, there was a Gallup survey that found that 71% say hybrid work improved work-life balance. This is just hybrid work, not remote work. 58% report less burnout compared to office-centric work. So people talk about burnout with remote work. Well, clearly there's less burnout when you're working remotely than when you're working in office-centric modality, hybrid work. Fully remote workers have lower rates of burnout and engagement than office-centric or hybrid workers. So clearly fully remote has benefits in terms of burnout and engagement. Work-life separation is a challenge, so remote work life definitely has disadvantages in this issue. So I strongly advise, I helped 21 clients transition to hybrid and remote work modalities, 21 organizations ranging from Fortune 200 companies like Applied Materials, which is a high-tech manufacturer, to middle market organizations like the Information Sciences Institute, a 300 people research institute in the University of Southern California. And I advise them to establish clear norms and policies for expectations and boundaries around hybrid work and remote work to address these work-life separation issues. For example, communication. Different people have different expectations for how to communicate. For example, Slack messages or Microsoft Teams. Some people think that should be answered within an hour. Some people think it's fine to answer them within a day. Email. Some people expect a response within 3 hours. Others just feel like within 3 days is fine. So you want to set boundaries and expectations. Clear boundaries, clear expectations, that's very important for effective remote work. Whether full-time remote work or hybrid work, the period of time when people work remotely. They help maintain those work-life boundary separation and help improve people's well-being. You want to address the uncertainty, the lack of clarity that people experience, because people are often uncomfortable disconnecting, not replying to messages, and not doing work tasks after hours. They feel that they might not meet their boss's expectations, especially as the economy is not doing as hotly as it used to be. So they don't want to let their colleagues down. This is a problem. You don't want people to burn out. So you want them to be able to disconnect, not reply to messages after hours, not do work tasks after hours, unless there's a good reason to do so. So address this uncertainty and lack of clarity. Companies need to establish and incentivize and monitor, create clear expectations, boundaries, and develop policies and norms around appropriate response times for different channels of communication. So clarifying those work-life boundaries for employees. So defining expectations might be something like expectations around work outside of regular work hours. For example, you might limit work outside of regular work hours to no more than once a week, with the exception of emergencies, when it could be, crunch time at the end of a quarter and you have some quota to meet. Maybe you're going to spend a week working very intensely. But that should be an exception. That should not be the rule. No more than once a week should be the expectation of working outside of the regular work hours. And you want to address any systematic deviations from these expectations. So if you see that it's consistently working more than once a week outside of work hours, well, then you probably want to address it. Maybe someone is not doing their work appropriately. Maybe the manager is not delegating tasks well to appropriate team members. You don't want to see team members systematically working outside of the work hours if they're mandated to do so. Of course, if they want to do so, that's great. They should feel free to work as freely outside of work hours as they want. Some people are morning doves, some people are night owls. Great, some people are going to work from 5 a.m. onward, and some people are going to work until 9 p.m. That's fine, if they choose to do so based on their energy levels. But it's about the mandated working outside of standard office hours. That should not be the case more than once a week unless there's an emergency. And you want to have breaks. People should have breaks when working remotely because research shows that breaks decrease burnout, improve productivity, and reduce people's mistakes. So companies should encourage employees to take at least a 10-minute break every hour. to do a physical activity, so at least half the breaks. That can be walking, maybe walk around the block, walk around up and down the stairs in your apartment, home, whatever, stretching, any other physical activity, do some yoga. It helps counteract the effects of prolonged sitting. That's very helpful. And you want to also take mental health breaks. So other breaks should include restorative mental activities like meditation, brief naps, any other activities that are restorative, not things like scrolling on your smartphone. Not a thing you want to do. That's not a restorative activity. That's an entertaining activity, but not restorative. So breaks should be personalized and tailored to your specific needs. So maybe some people want to light a candle or something. You should not be in a room with a lit candle for a long time. That's not going to be good for your health, but maybe light it outside for a bit or something, then burn it turned off. Or maybe having some cream. You want to rub some cream into your hands or something like that. That's a nice restorative break for some people. So it helps to improve well-being and people's performance. To facilitate breaks, I'll give you the example of one of my clients who already talked about. And again, of course, I'm only naming the clients who agreed to have their names shared. University of Southern California's Information Sciences Institute, which is a 300-ish people institute of data scientists, cybersecurity experts, AI scientists at the University of Southern California. What we did there is shortening meetings to give people an opportunity for mental and physical breaks. So hour-long meetings were shortened to 50 minutes and half-hour meetings shortened to 25 minutes. And this created more effectiveness in many ways. You start wrapping up the meeting at the 40-minute mark for 50-minute meetings and the 20-minute mark for 25-minute meetings. Most people were very happy with shorter meetings, and they found they can get 95% of their work done if they know that they're going to be wrapping up. It just involves doing less talking, being more efficient, keeping more track of time. So there's a lot of benefits to implementing these changes. After implementing the changes, your team will see a lot of benefits. And then you can implement other activities that are going to be more of a ramp up. So physical breaks, that's just a starting activity. Then you can have more clear expectations, times when people are expected to answer emails, for example. You can set a standard that people answer their Slack messages anywhere within the 11 to 3 p.m. window within a 30-minute period. And they answer their emails within a 2-hour period during that time frame if you set common hours. But that's harder to do than shortening meetings to 25 minutes and 50 minutes. And shortening meetings, people really appreciate that and they're happy about it. Especially managers find that especially useful. So it will create a better experience and less stress for your people. So this is the truth about what's going on with hybrid and remote worker well-being. And now that you checked out this episode, I hope you'll subscribe to the Wise Decision Maker Show wherever you check this out and leave a review. It really helps us improve the show and it helps other people discover the show. So please go ahead, leave a review, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. In the meantime, the wisest and most profitable decisions to you, my friends.